Before this video starts, I want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. Welcome to this guide in beating Parade of the Dead, Prisoner's Progress, and March to Death. If you're struggling to beat any of these stages, then I hope this video will help you understand how these stages work and to learn any tips that might make your runs better. A lot of the discussion will center around no Uber, but there will be a dedicated section about usable Ubers in each stage discussed, and there's a lot more Ubers that you can use in these stages than you think. Now for Parade of the Dead. This stage can be played on the 3rd, 4th, 17th, and 18th of every month once you clear Into the Future Chapter 1, but I don't recommend jumping straight into the stage as you will be woefully unprepared for it. I would recommend waiting until you at least clear Into the Future Chapter 3 for two reasons. One is that clearing it gives you access to a Wake of Bahamut, who is perhaps one of the most important units in this stage. The second reason is that you get to max out the Heaven's Fruit treasure, which for any anti-angels you bring along, can make the angels present in this stage easier to handle. Speaking of the enemies present, let's quickly go into what enemies are present in this stage. First off is the head honcho himself, Daboo of the Dead. Daboo is a slow-moving enemy who sports a gigantic health stat of 3 million. They're immune to some negative effects, including knockback, freeze, slow, and weaken. This makes units like Weed Whacker and Ectoweight ineffective against them. He can also slow your units for 10 seconds, and with an attack frequency of 13 seconds, any unit that survives his 30,000 damage hit will be stunned, only moving once he starts his attack again. Said attack also reaches fairly far, as well Daboo stands at 300 range, his Omni Strike reaches up to 800 range. It also goes back 700 range in the event you manage to clip a unit through him. Then there are 3 peon enemies of Zrako, Gabriel, and Znach. Zrako is by far the most common peon enemy, with Gabriel's and Znach's spawning in very sparse groups. Then you have the supporting enemies, the first being Heavenly Hippo, whose extremely tanky health pool allows him to block units from getting to Daboo and can easily chew through your defenses. There is also a single Angelic Gory who spawns alongside the second horde of Heavenly Hippos. Then there's Zori, who's meant to push through your defenses with their high attack rate to allow Daboo to push. While the first appearance of Zori isn't the biggest issue, the second group of Zoris can be a major one, as there's also a Zerzeal, who can tank a decent amount of damage and is even more aggressive than Zori. Also, Zerzeal spawns with 2 Zoris. The main fight is broken up into 4 phases: the first angel phase, the Zori phase, the second angel phase, and the zombie phase. Around 53 seconds, 2 Heavenly Hippos will spawn with 3 Gabriels. The Zori phase, in which 3 Znachs and a Zori show up, happens around the 2-minute mark. Then at the 3-minute mark, 3 Heavenly Hippos and an Angelic Gory show up, and at the near 4-minute mark, Zerzeal spawns with 2 Zoris. At the 5-minute mark is the post-fight, with Gabriels, Heavenly Hippos, Znachs, and Zoris infinitely spawning every 2 minutes. Now, how would you want to build your lineup in this stage? Generally, you'll always want to slot in Shigon Cat, as at level 30 alone, they could survive 2 Daboo hits. When paired with their decent damage and slow immunity, they're able to score a ton of damage into Daboo with little issue. They're also extremely valuable for tanking the zombie phases of the stage. Ramen is another great unit for the stage, thanks to the rather aggressive angel waves that can easily take valuable space. Ramen is able to keep enough space to get through these phases. Seeing as these specialist meat shields do have longish cooldowns, it's a good idea to bring a research combo or 2 to help them be more spammable. Biohazard and Bony Bone are 2 research combos that help reduce their cooldown by a wide margin, though if you do have access to either Cheating Heart or Sigh of Relief, it's better to run one of these, as you get the same cooldown reduction while also having an extra slot to bring something else. Courier is a fairly solid unit here, as they can provide quick ship damage against the various supports, and their high speed allows them to reach everything sooner. Can, specifically with speed talents, can also achieve this. With speed talents, Can is less likely to take an unfortunate hit from Daboo, and with enough speed can ship down Daboo during downtime. At the very most, get this talent to level 9. Also, you should have the double bounty talent unlocked first, as Can is able to scoop up a ton of valuable cash here. Manic Jameer is another very solid unit here. They sport a good health stat of 63,000, allowing them to tank several Daboo hits and deal a good amount of damage to them in a single life. If you have been Realm of Carnage, the Maglev is also a fairly solid unit here, as they can deal almost enough damage to instantly take care of his Rocco. Also, if timed right, they can score some extra cash for you. The last unit shouldn't be a surprise, but Awakened Bahamut is an invaluable unit here, as their extremely high burst damage is basically required to help take care of the various angel waves. Now remember, the units in this lineup are level 30, so it might also be a good idea to boost some of these units. I also strongly recommend unlocking at least one level of the Holy Blast, as this can let you deal some good chip damage into Daboo, as well as interrupt his attack. Doing this allows you to have a few seconds more of your units to deal damage into him. This window of time is especially useful if you have Bahamut out, either to let him finish off some angels, or to score an extra hit on Daboo. It can also make the Zeal phase of the fight much easier, as you can unburrow them with the Holy Blast, making it so they don't get nearly as far into your backline. Also, if you have some laying around, then the Sniper power-up is an excellent item here, as it can help take back space from Daboo, as the only other way to do so is to get a natural knockback on him. Of course, the units mentioned above aren't the only units that can work here. Running both Island and Manic Island allows you to have some extra bulk on the team, and if you decide to throw Fisherman Cat into the lineup, you can get both a defense small and a base health small combo. This allows your units to tank for just a little bit longer, and to possibly make Daboo require one more hit to your base if they do reach it. If you happen to be lucky enough to own Brainwash Whale, then they'll make for an excellent unit in this stage thanks to their amazing bulk and great damage output against all of the zombies present. Seafarer is also another fairly solid option on this stage, as their damage output is pretty good, and their ability to always survive a lethal strike means they can get a few more hits in before one of them dies. Pizza similarly is another good unit for this stage. They have enough bulk to tank a Daboo hit and deal solid damage into the supports. If you have the NP to invest, their wave talent allows them to deal way more damage over time and can help out in a pinch. One last unit that's useful in this stage is Housewife. Despite the fact that she can't slow Daboo, she can still reliably slow the rest of the zombies present. She also has Z-Killer, meaning that you can use her to actually kill off zombies like Zori without worrying about them entering their corpse state. Her LD also allows her to snipe enemies that might just be out of reach, dealing solid damage to them. Also, if you have the NP to invest, then their Savage Blow talent allows her to get a great boost in damage over the course of a fight, but this talent isn't required. Now this video has only focused on the no Uber aspect, but there are a good amount of Ubers that could put work into the stage if you own them. One of these being Sarukani, who is effectively built for this stage. They're a strong, spammable unit who deals good damage into both angel and zombie enemies and can tank a few hits from the support. Another Ultra Soul who's good here is Kasajiso, whose massive damage into angels can make the angel waves much easier to handle, and has enough damage to act as extra support against peon enemies. One other Ultra Soul that's amazing here is Ravenous Cherry, as they sport a gigantic amount of health against both zombies and angels, allowing them to act as a tanky wall against them. They also have a chance to freeze the zombies and angels present, which can help your units secure hits that they may have not gotten otherwise. They also sport a Conjure, which gives you a one-time burst damage option that weakens and knocks back all of the supporting enemies, giving you an opportunity to regain or hold ground more easily. Some other Ubers who work here include Greater Balrog thanks to his extremely high burst damage into Daboo, as well as his relatively low cost and fast cooldown. Then there's Ultra Atlantis Logistics, whose insane damage makes zombie waves a cakewalk, and with both dodge and survive, it gives them multiple chances to blow up a ton of zombies. One last Uber I want to highlight is Blizzarina, whose resistance to zombies and slow immunity allows her to be a very solid tank into Daboo, and with the decent Omni Strike allows her to target enemies like Zori, who can easily sneak past her if she doesn't slow. Just keep in mind that her damage output isn't the highest. Of course, there's still a ton of Ubers who work great in this stage, but I don't have the time to sit here all day and list every single Uber off. The two key things to look for when using an Uber here is, do they resist zombies, and or can they deal with angels quickly with a cooldown that's less than 2 minutes. If an Uber falls under one of these categories, then there's a good chance it's a decent Uber for the stage. On screen is just a handful of other Ubers that work in this stage. Now for a few extra tips and things to look out for before we dive into the revenge stages. Be sure to periodically upgrade your wallet throughout the fight, as there will be times where you'll be swimming in cash. Upgrading the wallet allows you to hold more cash for when you need it, like in the more difficult phases. The actual area Daboo reaches with his attack is about halfway across his giant demon ball, so the ideal time for Daboo to actually land his attack is when a unit just enters the demon ball area, as the outer half isn't considered to be a part of his attack. The Angel Waves are also timed in a way to pretty much match Awakened Bahamut's cooldown, so when you see him being close to finishing his cooldown, that's your cue to prepare for the second Angel Wave. It's also timed to where if you use Bahamut during the second Angel Wave, they'll be almost off cooldown when Zerzio revives if you fail to Z-kill them. One last thing is that if you wanted, you could play through Cats of the Cosmos to unlock the antimatter fruits, as this treasure makes it so any anti-zombie you bring will be more effective, like Shigon being able to tank more hits, or Housewife being able to slow the zombie supports for longer. Now for our first revenge stage, we have Prisoner's Progress. The restriction on this stage is that you can only use units that are 1200 cents or more. This effectively makes 90% of the viable units no longer usable. Some of the biggest losses include Shigon, Can, Ramen, and Housewife. Because of this, the amount of units you have available to you is way smaller. Also, getting the usable units to level 40 is a must, as they need that extra 29% in stats they get to make up for a lack of more spammable units. The most important units now become the Titan variants, as they essentially become your main source of damage and defense. Ro is the only real tank you can use here, but if you have more than 5 levels in cost down, then they're no longer an option. Pizza similarly is another solid damage dealer, but once again if you have more than 5 levels of cost down, then they're also no longer an option here. One of the best units here is a Dancer who sports both health and attack talents. They can deal a substantial amount of damage and can tank a Daboo hit. They're also a part of a defense combo with Gato Amigo and Can. Further paired with Low Jamira and Cyborg, you can get access to 2 defense small combos, and if you have enough levels on Low Jamira, can be used as an extra Titan for when you have excess cash. Awakened Bahamut is even more important, as now they really are your only major damage source into the Angel Waves. I will say now that unless you have acquired Bahamut's talents after beating Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 3 or have good Ubers for this stage, I would strongly recommend holding off doing this level until you beat an Ancient Curse in Uncanny Legends. Having access to the extra 10 levels on your units can make a world of difference between winning easily and losing hard, as from level 40 to level 50, units gain an extra 22% in stats. Bahamut going from level 30 to 40 also gains an extra 14.7% to health and damage, which can mean the difference in securing a kill in quite a few situations. In saying that, having Bahamut's talents makes this stage effectively free. Having effectively doubled his damage and having good piercing damage with Explosion allows Bahamut to accumulate so much damage that you can easily get through an Angel Wave and deal significant damage to Daboo. This is further compounded if you run 2 defense small combos and have slow immunity unlocked, as this effectively doubles the amount of time Bahamut gets to spend damaging Daboo. Pretty much all of the Ubers mentioned when discussing the main stage, besides Sarukani's first form and Kasajizo, are all still good on the stage. I would also recommend getting a few more levels on the Holy Blast before attempting this stage to make up some of the missing damage. Sniper is once again an amazing power up, and it may be a good idea to use some rich cats once you're confident with the flow of the stage to make retaining money easier. That is all I could really say about Prisoner's Progress. This stage plays similarly to Parade of the Dead, but requires more out of each individual unit. Now onto perhaps the most discussed Daboo stage, March to Death. This stage is rather infamous thanks to its makeup of aggressive metal enemies, along with Daboo being able to nuke all of your anti-metals. However, this stage isn't nearly as bad as you might think, at least if you've beaten an Ancient Curse. Being stuck with only level 40 units will make this stage very difficult, and you miss a ton of crucial unit stat benchmarks, so waiting until you beat an Ancient Curse is strongly recommended. Also, beating an Ancient Curse gives you access to the stages that hold both Boulder and Modern Cat, 2 very good units for this stage. Boulder is an amazing staller, and Modern can tank several hits from the metals present. It's even better if you have Future Cat, as they tank 7 times the damage against metals instead of 5 times, allowing you to stall the metals way more easily. Good critical hit units on this stage include Catosaurus, Cat Researcher, Curry, and Soba. Catosaurus, especially with the crit talents maxed out, gives them a 12% crit chance, and with how often they can be sent out, they will land a ton of crits over the course of a fight. Cat Researcher is effectively a Catosaurus who trades some crit chance for extremely high attack rate and movement speed. For Cat Researcher, I would recommend getting them to at least level 43, as at this level, they can one-shot Metal One Horn with a single crit. Doing this means you can spend way more time before the Super Metal Hippo phase building up cash and stalling Daboo. Curry is another excellent anti-metal here, as they deal decent damage with their crit and will always slow a metal enemy for 1.2 seconds. Soba is one of the best units to use here for the tankier metals, like Super Metal Hippo and Sir Metal Seal, as their extremely high crit damage of 27,000 can one-shot Super Metal Hippos and will always knock back Sir Metal Seal. At minimum, you should get her to level 44, as at this level, she deals enough damage to one-shot Super Metal Hippo. On top of these crit units, I would also recommend running the Miracle Performance combo with Mineko and Craze Mineko, as this gives your non-guaranteed crit units an extra 2% chance to crit. This may not sound like a lot, but it really does add up over the course of a battle. Also, Craze Mineko herself is a fairly strong crit unit, dealing over 10,000 damage with her third hit at level 50. At minimum, she should be at level 37, as this gives her enough health to tank a Daboo hit. There are also 3 anti-metal CC units you can bring that all work relatively well. The first and easiest to use here is Puppet Master and Charlie, as their fast speed of 24 and 30% chance to slow a metal enemy for a very long 7.2 seconds means they can get a ton of chances to slow something before Daboo lands their hit. Another unit that works pretty well here is Mochi Cat, who has a 40% chance to weaken a metal enemy for 8 seconds, and with a rapid attack rate can make something like a Sir Metal Seal way easier to manage, as they go from a deadly 20,000 damage hit to a more manageable 10,000 damage, especially if you only have Modern Cat. The last but least consistent option you can use is Hoopmaster, who has a 40% chance to freeze a metal enemy for 4.8 seconds. While the freeze is very powerful, the fact that they have a slower attack rate compared to the other 2 units makes them way more difficult to use here. Some of the good units in this stage include Rice Ball, who, with Health Towns, can make the Super Metal Hippo phase of the stage way easier thanks to their knockback immunity, and can very easily stall Daboo when isolated. Cat Typhoon is another great unit for this stage, as their natural bulk and fast attack rate allows them to quickly take care of groups of metal doges. Just be mindful to avoid using them during the Super Metal Hippo waves, as their relatively low crit damage easily juggles them, and you can easily miss out on landing bigger hits with units like Soba and Craze Mineko. Shigon is a great alternative to Boulder as a third meat shield, as once again, their ability to very easily stall Daboo and deal good damage to him makes them worth using in the post-fight of the stage. One last unit to mention is Cameraman, who isn't exactly the best unit here, but with her crit talent can score a ton of damage in a single hit. It must be noted that she needs the crit combo and a decent stack to ensure you can land a crit, so her survive talent is a must as well if you intend to use her. Now that some unit recommendations have been given, how does this stage play out? When you first enter the stage, you're already thrown into the first phase of the fight, the Metal One-Horn phase. This is by far the easiest phase, as most crit units can reliably kill them in 1 to 2 crits. There is a set of 5 metal doges that spawn shortly after Daboo spawns, so be mindful of them. At around the 1 minute 40 second mark is when you enter the Super Metal Hippo phase. This phase is where most of your ground will get lost due to the Hippo's knockback. It's very important to use your heavy hitting crit units like Soba to deal with the 2 of them quickly. During this phase, you've been in the middle of the second Metal Doge wave, so they can make dealing with the Hippos a bit tricky. The last phase, which begins right after 3 minutes, is the Sir Metal Seal phase. This seal is supported with infinite spawning Metal Doges, who have a wide respawn timer between 30 to 60 seconds. However, once you deal with the Sir Metal Seal and have ensured Daboo is not on your base, then the stage is effectively over. As I've been discussing this stage, you may have noticed that besides Shigon, no anti-zombie units have been brought up, and this is for one simple reason. This is because this stage is just a metal stage who happens to have a nuke or zombie enemy clearing the board every 13 seconds. This is why focusing on anti-metal units is infinitely more important than anti-zombie units, as Daboo on his own is never a threat. An upgraded Holy Blast is, however, your best friend here. This is due to 3 factors, one of which being that it could just chunk Daboo for a good amount of health, which is especially useful for the cleanup phase, as you spend less time whittling down Daboo. The second is that, unlike the regular cannon, you can interrupt Daboo's attack without the risk of interrupting your unit's attack to the metals due to the knockback. The final reason also ties to this knockback, as if in the event Daboo is on your base, you can use the knockback to get him off the base, ensuring your base can last longer in the event you have difficulty reaching him. The sniper power-up is also extremely useful for stalling Daboo's attack and knocking him back to regain ground. As for which Ubers are good here, there are a few options. One of them being Paladin Cat, whose 50% crit chance, along with his solid damage and very fast cooldown of only 47 seconds, means he can easily take huge chunks of health off the larger enemies. At level 49, Paladin sports enough health to tank 2 Daboo hits, which gives them way more chances to nuke the metals present. Hayabusa is also another amazing crit unit for this stage, especially against Super Metal Hippo. At level 36, they deal enough damage to one-shot Super Metal Hippo with a crit. At level 40, they gain just enough health to tank 2 Daboo hits. Also, Hayabusa being slow immune means that he doesn't get screwed nearly as badly by Daboo's lawn slow, allowing him more chances to dice metals. If you have Sacred Blade Sakura, then she is another solid unit to bring for this stage. For one, she has a 1-slot crit small combo, giving all of your units, including herself, 1% more crit chance. Second, Sakura is able to not only slow, but also weaken metal enemies for 4 seconds, making the heavy metals much easier to deal with. Just like Hayabusa, she is also slow immune, so she doesn't get nearly as screwed by Daboo's slow. At level 41, she gains enough health to tank 2 Daboo hits. One last Uber I want to mention is Edgemaster Stall, who is by far the best Uber on this stage. His extremely high health against both metal and zombie enemies, paired with his absurd attack rate, allows him to both slow metals very easily and shred them with very little issue. His fast attack rate also allows him to melt Daboo pretty easily. There's also a few more Ubers that are good on this stage, but for similar reasons as when discussing the good Ubers for Parade of the Dead, I don't have the time to dive into every good Uber here, but on screen are a few more Ubers and why they work on this stage. Generally, they tend to fall under Ubers who have good crit damage, can tank the enemies present extremely well, or have amazing combos that make using your other units way easier. Just remember the big thing about this stage. This stage is effectively a metal stage with a moving board wiper that goes off every 13 seconds, so knowing when Daboo is going to attack can allow you to plan when to send out your units way more easily. With this said, I hope this guide to everything Daboo has been helpful. If it was, then give it a like, as this lets me know I should continue making these sort of guides, and if you enjoy Battle Cats content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. If there's anything I may have missed when discussing these stages, please say so in the comments, as with all things like these guides, someone is bound to have missed something. Also, shout out to the following channel members: Dr. Deadly, Gamet, Virus Apero, Just a Shark, Gross Cat the Ultra, Potato King, King Wolf, Clamorous, Barely Grover, Jade Rabbit, Janet Altenberg, Tentacle Gaming, I May Be Dumb, Alex Dudurex, Carlos Fabian, Pugberto, and Las Voss Slimecat for being silver members or higher. If you want to receive a shout out like these channel members here, then become a silver member or higher today. Becoming a channel member supports what I do in a way that helps keep the lights on and allows me to continue making content for all of you to watch. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.